She slammed the apartment door open with her shoulder, breath ragged, rainwater dripping from her hair onto the cracked wooden floor. "Mommy! Mommy, please don't close your eyes!" Little Noah's voice shook as he dragged a stool across the kitchen tiles, trying to reach his mother, who had collapsed halfway between the doorway and the counter. Emma Carter. Young, beautiful, a Black American woman with deep brown skin and tired eyes that once held warmth, lay motionless for a second too long. Her grocery bags had exploded across the floor. Milk spilled into a thin river. Apples rolled under the couch. Noah dropped to his knees beside her. "Mommy!" he screamed again, shaking her arm harder. "Wake up! Wake up!" Emma's eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully, she forced them open. Her lips trembled. "Noah! Mommy, I thought you died. I'm okay," she whispered, but her voice betrayed her. Weak, fragile, almost gone. She tried to sit up and immediately collapsed back down, gripping her chest. Noah froze. That wasn't normal. Even at 4 years old, he knew that. "Mommy, you're scaring me," he whispered, tears already forming. Emma forced a smile that didn't reach her face. "I just stood up too fast, baby." But she knew the truth. It was getting worse. The dizziness, the chest pain. The nights she pretended she was just tired when really she was fighting for breath. She had been ignoring it for weeks. Because there was no time to be sick. Not when rent was due. Not when food prices kept rising. Not when Noah needed shoes he kept outgrowing. Emma pushed herself again, slower this time. She reached out and cupped Noah's face. "You didn't eat yet, did you?" Noah shook his head, still staring at her like she might disappear. "Then let's fix that." "No, Mommy," he said firmly, surprising her. "You sit. I'll help." Emma blinked. "You'll help," Noah nodded. Seriously, walked over to the cabinets, stood on his little stool, and tried to grab cereal that was way too high for him. Emma watched him struggle, and something in her chest broke. Not pain this time. Something deeper. Fear. Because if anything ever happened to her, that little boy would be alone. Completely alone. And he wouldn't even understand why, she whispered under her breath. "I can't leave him. I can't." But even as she said it, her body betrayed her again. Another wave of dizziness forcing her to grip the counter. Her mind flashed back. 4 years ago. Seoul. Rain falling over glass buildings. A man standing in front of her, holding an umbrella over both of them. Kim Joon-woo. A Korean man with sharp features, calm eyes, and a voice that always sounded too controlled. Like he was holding back emotions he didn't know how to express. He wasn't supposed to fall for her, and she wasn't supposed to fall for him. But they did anyway. It started in a hotel cafe where she worked temporarily during an exchange program. He had ordered coffee every morning at exactly 8:15. Never sugar, never cream, just black, every day. Until one morning she said, "You're either a creature of habit or you're avoiding joy." He looked up at her. "You think coffee is joy? I think anything with flavor should be enjoyed." That was the first real conversation. After that, he started asking for her name, then her schedule, then her laugh. And somewhere between language barriers and cultural distance, something impossible happened. He chose her, despite everything. Despite his family, despite his world. And for a while, she believed love like that could survive anything. But she had been wrong. Back in the present, Emma snapped out of the memory when Noah tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, I did it!" He proudly held up a box of cereal half opened, spilling onto the floor. Emma laughed weakly. "You made a mess, but I helped." "You did," she whispered and kissed his forehead. Her phone vibrated on the counter. She hesitated before picking it up. Emma Carter. Final door. Rent payment overdue. Her stomach sank. She already knew. She couldn't pay it. Not this month. Not next month either. Because everything she earned went into survival. And survival wasn't enough anymore. She sank onto a chair, rubbing her forehead. Noah climbed into her lap immediately. Mommy, are we poor? Emma stiffened. Kids always asked questions too directly. Why would you say that? Because Mrs. Daniels said poor people get kicked out. Emma's chest tightened. No, don't listen to everything people say. But are we getting kicked out? Emma swallowed hard. For the first time, she didn't have a comforting lie ready. She just whispered, I'm working on it. But even she didn't believe herself. That night, after Noah fell asleep, Emma stood in front of the cracked mirror in her bedroom. She looked different now. Tired eyes, slight tremor in her hands, a body that felt like it was slowly shutting down. She pulled out an old box from under her bed. Inside were memories she had refused to touch for years. A necklace, a photo, and a letter she never sent. She opened it slowly. Her own handwriting stared back at her. Joon-woo, if you ever read this, I want you to know I never lied to you. I loved you. I still do. But I couldn't stay after what happened. I was too afraid. And now, I have a son. Your son. Her hand shook. She closed the letter immediately. No, she whispered. No, I won't do that to him. But fate doesn't care about promises made in fear. Far away, in Seoul, a man was about to make a decision that would bring everything back together. And in 2 weeks, Emma Carter's life was going to collide with Kim Joon-woo again, whether she was ready or not. If you're enjoying this story so far, like the videos, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. The next part is where everything starts to change, and trust me, you won't see it coming. Emma didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, her chest tightened like invisible hands were squeezing the air out of her lungs. By morning, she was worse. Still, she forced herself up. Because Noah had school activities today at the community center, and missing it wasn't an option. Noah was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed, staring at her like he had been watching her all night. Mommy, he said softly. Emma forced a smile. I'm fine, baby. You said that yesterday. I'm fine today, too. Noah didn't believe her. He was small, but he wasn't blind. You keep holding your chest, he said. Emma froze for a second, then laughed lightly. I just slept wrong. Noah didn't laugh back. Instead, he climbed off the bed, walked to her, and hugged her waist tightly. Don't be sick, Mommy, he whispered. That broke her more than anything else ever had. She bent down, holding him close. I won't be sick, she lied softly into his hair. I promise. But even as she said it, her vision blurred slightly. She blinked it away. They didn't have time for fear. Not today. Across the world in Seoul, Kim Joon-woo stood in front of a glass wall overlooking his company's top floor. Black suit, controlled posture, emotionless expression. That was how everyone saw him. A CEO, a billionaire heir, a man who had everything. But inside, something had been missing for years. A part he couldn't explain, a silence that never left him. His assistant entered quietly. Sir, the charity gala invitation list has been finalized. Joon-woo didn't turn. Charity gala? For the Children's Hospital Foundation. Your family expects you to attend. He exhaled slowly. His family always expected things. Fine, he said flatly. I'll go. The assistant hesitated. There's also something else. Joon-woo finally turned. Speak. There's a woman listed as one of the temporary staff coordinators, Emma Carter. She's American. Working through international placement, the name meant nothing to him. Yet something in his chest tightened slightly. Just a flicker, gone almost instantly. He dismissed it. Send me the schedule. Yes, sir. But long after the assistant left, Joon-woo stayed still. That strange feeling lingered. He didn't understand why. Emma arrived at the community center later that morning, exhausted but functioning. She smiled at the children, helped organize supplies, and pretended she wasn't fighting to stay upright. One of the supervisors looked at her suspiciously. You okay, Emma? I'm good. You don't look good. I just didn't sleep. You should go home early. I can't afford to. That ended the conversation. Because in Emma's world, exhaustion was normal. Collapse was optional, but dangerous. Noah was inside playing with blocks when a volunteer approached him. You're Emma's son, right? Noah nodded proudly. Yes, she works very hard. I know, Noah said seriously. She never stops. The volunteer smiled sadly. You're lucky to have her. Noah tilted his head. I think she's not lucky. I think she's tired. That sentence made the volunteer pause, a 4-year-old understanding something adults ignored. That evening, Emma's condition worsened again. She was walking home when her vision blurred. The streetlights stretched. Her legs weakened. Mommy, Noah called. I'm okay, she said quickly, gripping his hand tighter. But halfway down the street, she stopped. Noah looked up at her. Mommy? Emma tried to respond, but her knees buckled. She dropped to the ground, hard. Mommy! Noah screamed. Emma gasped, clutching her chest. Pain, sharp, overwhelming. She tried to breathe, but couldn't. Everything felt far away. Noah's voice echoed like it was underwater. Mommy, please! People rushed toward them. Someone shouted for help. Emma's vision flickered, and then blackness. When Emma woke up, she was in a small clinic, white ceiling, beeping sound. Noah's voice immediately filled the room. Mommy! Mommy! She turned her head weakly. Noah was standing beside her bed, tears on his cheeks. I'm here, she whispered. A doctor stepped forward. You collapsed from extreme exhaustion and severe anemia. This has been building for a while. Emma closed her eyes. She already knew. The doctor continued. But there's something more concerning. We need further tests. Your heart rhythm is irregular. Emma's breath caught. Heart. Noah held her hand tightly. Mommy, don't go again, he begged. She squeezed his hand back. I'm not going anywhere. But the doctor silent said otherwise. Later that night, Emma sat on the hospital bed alone while Noah slept beside her. Her phone buzzed. Another rent warning. Another overdue bill. Another reminder that her life was collapsing in every direction at once. She opened her old box again. The letter. The necklace. The photo of Joon-woo smiling beside her in Seoul. Her fingers shook. For the first time 4 years, she allowed herself the thought, maybe I should tell him. Maybe Noah deserves to know. Maybe I can't do this alone anymore. But fear immediately followed. What if he rejects them? What if he hates her for leaving? What if his world destroys them again? She closed her eyes tightly. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered to no one. Across the city, in Seoul, Joon-woo sat in a meeting, suddenly pausing mid-signature. A strange feeling hit him again. Stronger this time, like something far away was pulling at him. He frowned slightly. Cancel tomorrow's schedule, he said suddenly. His assistant blinked. Sir, I need to travel. Where? Joon-woo paused for a second, then answered without understanding why. America. And just like that, the past he had buried quietly began to wake up. If you're still watching this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because what happens next is the moment everything starts to collide. And Emma's secret is no longer safe. Emma was discharged the next morning, but she didn't feel like she had been released. She felt warned. The doctor's words kept echoing in her head. Irregular heart rhythm, severe anemia, possible complications. She walked home slowly with Noah, holding her hand tighter than usual. Like he was afraid she might vanish if he loosened his grip. "Mommy," Noah said quietly. "Are you still sick?" Emma forced a smile. "I'm just tired. You were sleeping in the hospital. I needed rest." Noah didn't answer, but he didn't believe her anymore. That was the problem. Children don't need explanations to feel fear. They just feel it. Back home, Emma sat on the edge of her bed, watching Noah draw on a piece of paper. "What are you drawing?" she asked softly. "You," Noah said. Emma smiled faintly. "Me? Yes? What do I look like in your drawing?" Noah hesitated, then pointed. "A superhero." Emma blinked. "A superhero? Because you always save me," he said simply. That hit her harder than anything the doctor said. She turned her face away so he wouldn't see her tears. "I'm not a superhero," she whispered. Noah looked confused. "Yes, you are." Emma didn't argue because in his world she had to be. If she stopped being strong, everything would fall apart. That same morning in Seoul, Kim Joon-woo boarded his private jet without telling anyone. His assistant followed closely behind. "Sir, your schedule canceled." "But your father expects you in the board meeting tomorrow. He can manage without me." The assistant hesitated. "May I ask why you're going to America so suddenly?" Joon-woo stared out the window. "I don't know." That was the most honest answer he had given in years. He didn't know why. He just knew he had to go. Something was pulling him. Something he couldn't explain. Like a memory he had forgotten. Trying to return. Emma tried to return to work 2 days later. She needed money. She always needed money. But her manager stopped her at the entrance. "You're not working today." "I'm fine." "You collapsed in the street." "I said I'm fine." The manager sighed. "Emma, listen to yourself. You look like you're about to fall again." Emma forced herself upright. "I don't have a choice." "You do." "No, I don't." That silence hit harder than anything else. Because she was right. She didn't have choices anymore. Only survival. That afternoon, Noah stayed close to her like a shadow. "Mommy, can we go somewhere fun today?" Emma looked at him. "Like where?" "Park." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, just for a little while." Noah's face lit up immediately. For a moment, Emma almost forgot everything. Almost. At the park, Noah ran ahead laughing for the first time in days. Emma sat on a bench, watching him. Her chest still hurt, but the fresh air helped. For a brief moment, she felt normal, alive. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A man's voice spoke on the other end. "Miss Emma Carter?" "Yes, this is Dr. Williams from Mercy Clinic. We need you to come in immediately." Emma's stomach tightened. "Why?" "There are complications in your test results." She went cold. "What kind of complications?" A pause. Then, "We need to evaluate for possible heart failure risk." The world tilted slightly. Emma gripped the bench. "No," she whispered. "Please come in as soon as possible." The call ended. Emma sat there frozen. Heart failure. The words didn't feel real. Noah ran back toward her, smiling. "Mommy, look!" He stopped when he saw her face. "Mommy!" Emma forced a smile quickly. "I'm okay." But her voice cracked. Noah noticed, even from a distance. He climbed onto the bench and hugged her tightly. "Don't be sad, Mommy. That broke her completely." She held him too tightly, too long, like she was trying to memorize him. That night, after Noah fell asleep, Emma sat alone in the dark. The phone call kept replaying in her mind. Heart failure risk. Possible complications. She opened the old box again. Her hand trembled as she pulled out the photo of Joon-woo. Kim Joon-woo, the man she once loved. The man she never told about Noah. For the first time, she didn't close it immediately. Instead, she whispered into the silence. I can't do this alone anymore. Tears fell onto the photo. I'm sorry. On the other side of the world, Joon-woo's plane began its descent into New York. He looked out the window at the lights below. Something inside him tightened again. Stronger now, closer. Like a thread pulling him toward something he had lost. He pressed a hand against his chest, slightly. Why does it feel like I'm forgetting something important? He murmured. His assistant leaned forward. Sir? Joon-woo shook his head. Nothing. But he didn't stop staring out the window. Because for the first time in years, he felt afraid of arriving somewhere. If you're still watching, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because from this moment forward, everything starts moving toward one collision. One truth that can no longer stay buried. Emma stood outside the hospital doors for a long time before she went in. Her hands were shaking. Not from the cold. From fear. Noah held her fingers tightly, swinging his little legs as they sat on the bench outside. Mommy, why are we here again? He asked. Emma forced a smile. Just check up, baby. You already did check up. This is another one. Noah frowned but nodded like he accepted it, even though he didn't. That was what scared Emma most. He was learning to accept things children shouldn't have to accept. Inside the hospital, everything smelled too clean, too sterile, too final. Dr. Williams was waiting. His face was not kind today. That alone told Emma everything she needed to know. She sat down slowly. Noah stayed close, pressing into her side. Emma, the doctor began carefully, we've reviewed your latest tests. Emma swallowed. And? He hesitated. That hesitation crushed her more than words. Your heart condition is more serious than we initially thought. Emma closed her eyes. Noah looked between them. What does that mean? She asked quietly. It means, the doctor said gently, if untreated, it could become life-threatening very soon. Silence. Emma didn't cry immediately. She just stared, like she was waiting for him to say it was a mistake, a wrong file, someone else's results. But it wasn't. Noah tugged her sleeve. Mommy? She looked down at him, and finally her expression cracked. Not fully, but enough. Can we fix it? She whispered. The doctor nodded slowly yes, but the treatment is expensive, and you'll need ongoing care. Emma laughed softly, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. Of course. Of course money was the barrier. Always money. Noah suddenly spoke. Mommy is going to be okay. Emma looked at him sharply. The doctor didn't answer. That silence again. Outside the hospital later, Emma sat on a bench, staring at her trembling hands. Noah climbed into her lap. Mommy, are you dying? Emma froze. Her breath stopped. Every sound in the world disappeared for a second. Who told you that? She asked softly. No one, Noah said. I just feel it. That broke her completely. Because children don't lie like that. They don't calculate. They just feel. Emma hugged him tightly. No, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. But her voice didn't sound convincing, even to herself. That night, Emma made a decision she had avoided for 4 years. She pulled out the old box again. The photo, the necklace, the letter she never sent. Her fingers hovered over the paper for a long time. Then she opened her laptop. Her hands trembled as she searched a name she had refused to type for years. Kim Joon-woo. CEO, Blackwood International Korea, billionaire. Her stomach tightened when she saw his face on the screen. Older now, stronger, colder, but still him. Still the man she loved. Still the man who never knew he had a son. Emma whispered, "I'm sorry," because she knew what she was about to do would change everything. Across the ocean, Joon-woo arrived in New York. His driver opened the door. "Sir, hotel or office?" Joon-woo paused and said something unexpected. "Hospital." The driver blinked. "Sir, I need to go to a hospital. Which one?" Joon-woo hesitated again, then answered, even though he didn't understand why. "Any children's hospital." Emma spent the next morning trying to act normal for Noah. But nothing about her felt normal anymore. Her body was weaker, her breathing more shallow. Every movement felt like a negotiation with pain. Still, she made breakfast. Still, she smiled. Still, she played with Noah. Because that's what mothers do, even when they're breaking. Noah suddenly stopped eating. "Mommy, yes? If you go away, will you come back?" Emma froze. The spoon in her hand trembled slightly. She forced a laugh. "I'm not going anywhere." Noah didn't smile. Instead, he said something quietly that made her blood run cold. "Then why did I dream you were in a white room and couldn't move?" Emma dropped the spoon. It clattered loudly. "Noah," she said quickly, "don't say things like that. I saw a man in my dream too," he added. Emma's heart stopped. What man? He was sad, like he lost something. Emma couldn't breathe. Noah tilted his head. "He looked like me." The room felt too small suddenly. Emma stood up too fast and immediately grabbed the table for support. "Enough," she said softly but firmly. "No more talking about dreams." Noah went quiet, and that silence hurt more than anything, because she had just shut down something she couldn't explain. Later that day, Emma received a message, unknown number. She opened it and froze. It was a confirmation notice from Mercy Clinic, but attached was something else. A note. "We have been instructed to expect a Mr. Kim Joon-woo for related consultation visits." Emma's breath stopped. Her fingers went numb. "No?" she whispered. "That name, that man, here." She backed away from the phone like it had burned her. "No, no, no!" Noah watched her from the couch. "Mommy?" But she couldn't answer. Because for the first time in 4 years, the past wasn't just coming back. It was already here. On the other side of the city, a black car pulled up in front of Mercy Hospital. Joon-woo stepped out. Slow. Controlled. But something inside him was no longer calm. Something was pulling him harder now. Like he was walking toward a truth he had forgotten how to survive. He looked up at the building, and for a reason he couldn't explain, his chest tightened. Like somewhere inside that building was something he had lost. Something that still belonged to him. If you're still following this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because what happens next is the moment everything starts to break open. And there is no turning back. Emma didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed all night, staring at her phone like it might explode with answers. Kim Joon-woo, here, in the same city, in the same hospital network. Her mind refused to accept it. No, it couldn't be real. He was in Korea, in another life, in a world she had left behind. But reality doesn't care about denial. Noah was asleep beside her, curled up tightly like he always did when he sensed something was wrong. Emma gently brushed his hair back. "You don't know what's coming?" she whispered. Her voice broke. "And I don't know how to protect you from it anymore." The next morning, Emma took Noah to a nearby clinic for routine monitoring. Or at least that was what she told herself. But the truth was different. She was scared. Scared of collapsing again. Scared of leaving Noah alone in Publix. Scared of the hospital calling again. Every step felt heavier. Every breath shorter. Noah held her hand tightly. "Mommy, you're shaking." "I'm okay," she said automatically. But even she didn't believe it anymore. Meanwhile, in a private hospital office, Kim Joon-woo stood staring at a file in his hands. Emma Carter. The name had been flagged by multiple departments. International Patient Coordination. Emergency Cardiac Risk Evaluation. Something about it kept him still longer than it should have. He didn't know why he requested her file. He just did. His assistant spoke carefully. "Sir, this patient is not connected to your family or business interests." "I know. Then why are you reviewing it?" Joon-woo didn't answer immediately. That was the problem. He didn't have an answer. Finally, he said quietly, "There's something familiar." His assistant frowned. "You've never met her." Joon-woo looked at the photo attached to the file. A Black American woman. Beautiful, tired eyes, strong posture even in weakness. And something inside him tightened again. Like déjà vu, but deeper. Like memory without image. He closed the file. Schedule the consultation. "Yes, sir." But even as he spoke, he didn't understand why his heart was beating faster. Emma was leaving the clinic when it happened. She saw him. At first, she thought she was imagining it. A tall man standing across the street. Black coat. Perfect posture. Stillness that didn't belong in a chaotic city. Her feet froze. No. Her mind screamed it before her body confirmed it. Kim Joon-woo. He wasn't supposed to be real here. Not now. Not like this. Noah tugged her hand. "Mommy?" But Emma couldn't respond. Her entire body locked. Joon-woo looked up, and their eyes met. For 1 second, just one. The world didn't move. Noise disappeared. Traffic blurred. Everything slowed. Joon-woo frowned slightly, like something inside him was trying to remember. Emma stepped back instinctively. "No," she whispered. Noah looked between them. "Mommy, who is that man?" Emma grabbed him instantly. Too fast. Too tight. "Don't look," she said sharply. But it was too late because Noah had already seen him, and something strange happened. Noah stopped struggling. He just stared. Like he recognized something too. Joon-woo crossed the street without realizing it. Step by step. Closer. Emma's breathing quickened. "Noah, inside the car." "Now. But now." Noah flinched at her tone. He obeyed slowly, confused. Emma stood between them, protective, defensive, broken. Joon-woo stopped a few feet away. His voice was calm. "Miss Carter?" Emma swallowed hard. "Yes. You are the patient listed in Mercy Clinic records?" "I don't know what you're talking about." A pause. His eyes shifted slightly. To Noah, then back to her. Something flickered. Not recognition. Something worse. Confusion mixed with emotion he couldn't name. "Do I know you?" he asked quietly. That question shattered something inside her. Because he didn't know. He truly didn't know. Emma shook her head quickly. "No? A lie. A necessary one." But her voice betrayed her. Joon-woo didn't look convinced. His eyes moved again to Noah. And this time, he froze. Just slightly. But enough. Something in his expression changed, very subtly. His jaw tightened. His breath slowed. Noah stepped slightly closer to the window of the car, pressed his small hand against it, and said softly, "Mommy, he looks like me." Emma's heart stopped. Joon-woo heard it, every word. His eyes widened just a fraction. "What did he say?" he asked. Emma panicked. "No, stop talking." But Joon-woo stepped closer. "What did he say?" The air between them tightened. Emma's voice broke slightly. "He's just a child. Ignore him." But Joon-woo wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at Noah. And for the first time in years, something deep inside him cracked open. Not memory, not logic, something instinctive, something dangerous, something like recognition without explanation. Noah! He repeated slowly. The name felt strange on his tongue, familiar in a way it shouldn't be. Emma grabbed Noah quickly. Get in the car, she whispered urgently. No, Noah said suddenly. Both adults froze. Noah looked directly at Joon-woo and asked the question that would change everything. Are you my daddy? Silence. The street disappeared. The noise of the city faded. Even Emma stopped breathing. Joon-woo didn't answer immediately. His eyes widened slightly, like the question had hit something buried deep. Your father? He repeated. Emma pulled Noah sharply. Stop it! But it was too late. Joon-woo was staring at the boy now. Really staring. The shape of his face, his eyes, something undeniable flickered again. A memory without memory, a feeling without origin. Emma's voice shook. We have to go. But Joon-woo stepped forward one more time and quietly said, I think I need to understand something. Emma's entire body went cold because she knew. At that moment, there was no escaping anymore. If you're still watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because from this point forward, everything unravels and the truth can no longer stay hidden. Emma didn't wait for another question. She grabbed Noah's hand so tightly it almost hurt. Noah, inside. Now. This time, her voice cracked with something deeper than fear. Panic. Noah hesitated for half a second, still looking at Joon-woo like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't understand. But Emma pulled him sharply. Now. He flinched and obeyed. The car door shut. A loud click. But it didn't feel like safety. It felt like a trap closing slowly. Joon-woo didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the car. On Noah. Something inside his chest was not calm anymore. It was shaking. Not physically, internally, like a memory trying to form without permission. He turned back to Emma slowly. Why did he ask me that? He said quietly. Emma's throat tightened. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. Her silence betrayed her. Joon-woo stepped closer. Miss Carter, he said more firmly now. That child just asked if I was his father. Emma swallowed hard. That's what children do. They say things. Joon-woo shook his head slightly. No. The single word was calm, but heavy. Final. No child says that to a stranger unless something made them believe it. Emma's hands trembled. She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because the truth was sitting inside the car behind her. Breathing. Watching. Waiting. Inside the car, Noah pressed his face against the glass. Mommy, he whispered. But Emma didn't turn around. She couldn't. Because if she looked at him right now, she would break. And if she broke here, everything would collapse. Joon-woo finally spoke again. Where is his father? The question hit harder than she expected. Emma's eyes flickered. 1,000 answers came and died in her throat. Dead. Gone. Unknown. Then finally, he's not in our lives. Joon-woo studied her face, searching, analyzing, like he was trying to read something she was hiding. Emma's breath hitched, a beat of silence. Then she said softly, no. That answer should have ended the conversation. But it didn't, because Joon-woo didn't look satisfied. He looked disturbed. Like something in her answer didn't match something he was feeling. A horn sounded behind them. Traffic building. Life moving. But none of it mattered here. Joon-woo took another step closer. His voice lowered. I don't know why, he said slowly, but when I saw him, I felt something I can't explain. Emma's chest tightened. Stop. I'm serious. I said stop, but he didn't. Because now he was looking directly at her, not the car, not Noah, her. And something shifted in his expression. Very small, very dangerous, like recognition without memory. You feel familiar too, he said quietly. Emma froze. No, 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 no. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here, not now. She shook her head quickly. You're mistaken. I'm not. You are. But her voice cracked on the last word. Joon-woo noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed everything. Inside the car, Noah suddenly said something again, louder this time. Mommy, he looks like the man in my dream. Emma turned instantly. Noah, stop talking. But it was too late. Joon-woo heard it. His eyes sharpened. What dream? He asked immediately. Emma stepped between them. That's enough. But Joon-woo's voice changed. Not louder, just sharper. Miss Carter. What dream? Noah leaned forward slightly from inside the car window. There's a man, he said innocently. He looks like him. He was sad. He was looking for me. Emma's heart dropped. No! But Joon-woo didn't move. He just stood there, silent. Like something invisible had just hit him. His breathing slowed. For the first time since they met, he didn't look controlled. He looked shaken. A long silence passed. Emma's body trembled. She reached for the door handle. We're leaving. But Joon-woo spoke again. Quietly, almost like he didn't realize he was speaking. What is your son's full name? Emma stopped. That exact question. She hesitated too long, and that was enough. Joon-woo noticed. Emma forced herself to answer. Noah Carter. A pause. Joon-woo repeated it softly. Noah Carter. Something flickered again in his eyes, stronger this time. More violent, like the name didn't belong to strangers, like it belonged somewhere deeper. Somewhere locked, somewhere forgotten. Emma pulled the door open. No, out now. No, Noah suddenly protested. I want to talk to him. No. Her voice cracked. That made him go silent immediately. But Joon-woo raised a hand slightly. Wait. Emma froze. That one word stopped her completely. Not because of authority, but because of something else. Emotion. Real emotion. Something she had never seen in him before. Joon-woo looked at Noah again, then back at Emma, and said something quietly that shattered everything. I think I've been looking for something I didn't know I lost. Emma's breath stopped. No. This was going too far, too fast, too dangerous. She shook her head violently. No, you don't know anything. But Joon-woo didn't look convinced anymore. He looked lost. For the first time. Completely lost. From inside the car, Noah pressed his hand again against the glass and whispered, Mommy, why do I feel like he's important? Emma couldn't answer. Because she was feeling the exact same thing. And that terrified her more than the diagnosis, more than the hospital, more than anything. Because deep down, she knew. The past hadn't just found them. It had recognized them. If you're still following this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because what happens next will force the truth into the open, and nothing will ever be the same again. The silence after Joon-woo's words stretched too long, too heavy. Even the traffic noise behind them felt distant now, like the world had politely stepped away to watch something unfold. Emma stood frozen with her hand still on the car door. Noah inside, Joon-woo outside, and something invisible hanging between them that none of them could name, but all of them could feel. I need you to stop this, Emma said finally, her voice shaking but firm. Joon-woo didn't look at her immediately. His eyes were still on Noah, still searching, still unsettled in a way he couldn't control. I'm not doing anything, he said quietly. That's the problem. Emma shot back. You're standing here like you know something you don't. Joon-woo finally looked at her, and for a second, There was no billionaire, no CEO, no polished control. Just a man confused by something inside him that refused to make sense. I don't know what I know, he said honestly. That sentence hit Emma harder than anything else because it wasn't manipulation. It wasn't arrogance. It was confusion, real confusion. And that made everything more dangerous. Inside the car, Noah pressed both hands against the window again. Mommy, he called softly. Emma turned sharply. Yes, he is. No. Noah shook his head. He looks sad. That word, sad, made Joon-woo flinch slightly, just barely, but Emma saw it, and it terrified her. Joon-woo took a slow breath. Miss Carter, he said carefully, I want to understand something. That's all. There's nothing to understand. You're lying. The words weren't aggressive. They were calm, but precise. Emma's throat tightened. I'm not lying. Joon-woo stepped slightly closer. Then look at me and say it again. Emma hesitated. That hesitation was enough. Joon-woo saw it, and something in his expression darkened. Not anger, but something deeper. Something closer to realization trying to break through resistance. A horn blared behind them again. A taxi driver shouted something impatiently. Life was trying to move forward, but none of them were moving with it. Joon-woo lowered his voice. That boy, he said slowly, looks like me. Emma's heart dropped. No, yes, it's coincidence. Joon-woo shook his head slightly. I don't believe in coincidences like this. Emma's hands trembled harder. You don't know anything about us. A pause. Then Joon-woo said something quieter. I think I knew you once. Emma went completely still. That sentence, that impossible sentence, it hit her like a physical force. No. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. Not without warning. Not without control. Inside the car, Noah suddenly spoke again. But, Mommy, he said softly, why does he feel like family? Emma snapped. No, stop! But it was too late again. Joon-woo heard it, every word, and this time he didn't hide his reaction. His eyes widened slightly. Family, that word didn't land normally. It landed somewhere deep, somewhere locked, somewhere buried. His breath slowed. Family, he repeated under his breath. Emma saw it, saw the shift, saw the crack in his composure widening, and panic surged through her. She reached for the car door again. We're leaving. But Joon-woo stopped her, not physically, just with his voice. Wait, Emma froze. He wasn't loud, but something about his tone made her pause as anyway. I need one answer, he said. No. One. Emma shook her head quickly. No. But Joon-woo didn't back down. His voice softened slightly. Did you ever know someone named Kim Joon-woo in Seoul? The world stopped. Emma's breath caught instantly. Her hand slipped slightly from the door handle. Noah went quiet inside the car. Even he felt the shift. Emma's lips parted, but no sound came out. Joon-woo saw it immediately. Her silence answered him more clearly than words ever could. His expression changed, not fully understanding yet, but now suspecting. Why did you ask that? Emma whispered finally. Joon-woo stared at her for a long moment. I don't know, he admitted, but my life feels, interrupted, like something was removed from it. Emma's eyes filled slightly. No, she whispered again. You're imagining things. I'm not. You are. But her voice cracked again, and Joon-woo heard it. Every crack, every hesitation, every emotion she tried to hide. Inside the car, Noah suddenly said something that silenced both of them. Mommy! I think I saw him before. Emma turned instantly. What? In my dream, Noah said softly. He was holding me. Emma's body went cold. Joon-woo heard it too. He stepped forward immediately. When? He asked. Emma snapped. Stop questioning him! But Joon-woo ignored her. When did you see me? He asked Noah gently. Noah tilted his head. Last night. Joon-woo's breathing slowed. What was I doing? Noah thought for a moment, then said, You were crying. Silence. That sentence broke something in the air. Joon-woo didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, like the world had suddenly shifted beneath him. Emma grabbed the car door. That's enough. We're leaving. But Joon-woo didn't stop her this time. He just said quietly, Wait. Emma paused again, frustrated, afraid, shaking. Joon-woo looked at Noah, then at Emma, and said something that made everything collapse a little further. I think I need a DNA test. Emma froze completely. The words hit like a bomb. Noah blinked inside the car. What's that? He asked innocently. Emma didn't answer. She couldn't. Because now, there was no pretending anymore. The truth had officially started knocking. And this time, it wouldn't go away. If you're still watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because the next part is where the truth stops hiding and everything begins to unravel completely. Emma felt like the ground beneath her had tilted. A DNA test. The words echoed in her head like a siren she couldn't turn off. Noah inside the car shifted slightly, sensing the tension even without understanding it. What is that? He asked again softly. Emma didn't answer him. She couldn't. Her eyes stayed locked on Joon-woo. No, she said immediately. Joon-woo didn't react emotionally. He just studied her, carefully. I didn't accuse you, he said calmly. I asked. That's the same thing, Emma snapped. It's not. It is when you are standing here looking at my child like he belongs to you. That sentence hit harder than she intended. Joon-woo went quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, He does look like he could belong to me. Emma's breath caught. No, she whispered again, weaker this time. Joon-woo took a slow step back, as if trying not to overwhelm her. I don't want to scare you, he said. You already are. A pause. Then Joon-woo spoke more quietly. Then tell me I'm wrong. Silence. Emma couldn't, not fully, not convincingly. And that silence was the loudest answer in the entire conversation. Inside the car, Noah suddenly pressed his face against the window again. Mommy, he said, why are you scared? Emma flinched. Because she was trying not to be seen like this. But children see everything, even what adults hide with silence. Joon-woo heard Noah again and looked toward the car. Something in his expression softened briefly. Not suspicion now. Something else. Concern. Real concern. Miss Carter? He said carefully. I'm not here to take anything from you. Emma laughed bitterly. You're already taking everything just by standing here. That's not my intention. But it's happening anyway. Another pause. Then Joon-woo said something that shifted the tone completely. Let me help you. Emma froze. What? I saw the hospital records, he continued. Your condition isn't minor. Emma's face tightened. That's not your business. It becomes my business if what I suspect is true. Emma shook her head quickly. You don't get to just walk in. And I'm not walking in, he interrupted gently. I'm already here. That sentence made her stop. Because it wasn't arrogance. It was reality. He was here, and he wasn't leaving emotionally or mentally anymore. A long silence stretched again. This time, heavier. Joon-woo spoke slowly. If there is even a chance that boy is mine, I will not ignore it. Emma's voice cracked. There is no chance, but even she didn't believe it fully. Joon-woo noticed. Of course he did. I understand fear, he said quietly. You don't understand this, then explain it to me. Emma looked away because she couldn't explain 4 years of hiding. She couldn't explain heartbreak. She couldn't explain survival. She couldn't explain the choice she made alone. Instead, she whispered, You don't belong here. Joon-woo's expression didn't change, but his voice softened. Maybe I don't yet. That yet hit differently. As inside the car, Noah suddenly knocked on the window. Mommy, can I talk to him again? Emma turned sharply. No, but no, Noah. Her voice broke slightly. That made him quiet instantly, and that silence hurt her more than anything. Joon-woo stepped slightly closer again. Please, he said gently. I'm not trying to harm you. Emma looked at him, exhausted now. You don't understand what you're asking. I think I do. No, you don't. Then make me understand. Emma's eyes filled slightly, because for the first time, she saw something she hadn't expected in him. Not entitlement, not control, curiosity, confusion, and something dangerously close to longing. Not for her. For something missing, a taxi honked loudly behind them again. This time, Emma flinched. She realized how long they had been standing there. Exposed, visible, open. She reached for the car door again. This is over. Joon-woo didn't stop her, but he said one last thing, quietly, calmly. I'm going to find out the truth. Emma froze. That wasn't a threat. That was a decision. A final one. She turned to him sharply. Leave us alone. Joon-woo looked at Noah one more time through the window, then back at Emma. I can't. That was it. Noah's explanation, no argument, just truth. Emma's chest tightened painfully because she realized something in that moment. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. It was the beginning of something irreversible. She opened the car door quickly. Noah, inside now. Noah hesitated again. Mommy? Now, he got in slowly, still looking confused, still looking at Joon-woo. Emma closed the door, hard, then turned back. Joon-woo hadn't moved. He was still watching the car, still thinking, still feeling something he couldn't name. Emma's voice shook as she said, Don't follow us. Joon-woo looked at her. I won't follow you, he said, then paused. And I don't need to. Emma's blood ran cold because she knew what that meant. Hospitals, records, names, truths. Everything she tried to bury was now exposed to the one person who could pull it all out. Emma got into the car quickly. The driver started the engine. As they pulled away, Noah pressed his hand against the window again. Joon-woo stood still, watching them leave. And for the first time in years, he whispered something under his breath without realizing it. Why does it feel like I just lost something I never knew I had? Emma didn't hear it. But if she had, she would have broken completely because the truth was no longer approaching. It was already inside the system, and nothing could stop it now. If you're still watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because the final two parts are where everything explodes and the truth finally comes out in full. The car moved faster than Emma intended. Or maybe it just felt that way because her heart wouldn't slow down. Noah stayed silent in the back seat, unusually quiet, watching her through the rearview mirror like he was trying to understand a language she refused to teach. Mommy, he said finally. Emma gripped the steering wheel tighter. Yes, baby? Why did that man make you sad? That question hit harder than anything Joon-woo had said. Emma swallowed. He didn't, she lied softly. Noah frowned. He did. Emma didn't answer, because she couldn't explain that some people don't just make you sad. They reopen things you buried just to survive. Back on the sidewalk, Kim Joon-woo remained standing long after the car disappeared into traffic. He didn't move, didn't blink much, just stood there like something inside him had been rearranged without permission. His assistant arrived moments later, slightly out of breath. Sir, we should go. Your schedule. Joon-woo raised a hand. Cancel everything. The assistant froze. Everything. Yes, A pause. Then Joon-woo added quietly, and pull every medical record under Emma Carter's name. Everyone. The assistant hesitated. Sir, that requires authorization. Joon-woo turned slightly. That was enough. Get it done. The assistant nodded immediately. Yes, sir. But as he walked away, Joon-woo stayed still because for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing business. He was chasing a feeling he couldn't name. Something human, something dangerous, something real. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She sat beside Noah's bed, watching him breathe, peaceful, unaware, innocent. Her hand trembled slightly as she touched his hair. I should told you earlier, she whispered. Noah stirred slightly. Mommy, I'm here. He relaxed again. But Emma didn't, because now there was no escaping what had started. Joon-woo had seen him. He had questioned it. And worse, he had felt something too. 2 days later, Emma received a call from the hospital. Her entire body went cold before she even answered. Miss Carter, the doctor said, voice serious, we need you to come in immediately. What now? A pause. Then, we have a man here. He claims to be connected to your case, Mr. Kim Joon-woo. Emma dropped the phone. It hit the floor loudly. Noah looked up from his toys. Mommy! But Emma couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly. He was there, not searching anymore, not guessing. He was inside the system now, inside the truth. At the hospital, Joon-woo stood in a private consultation room, holding a sealed document, Emma's medical file. Incomplete, but enough. Enough to see patterns. Enough to see risk. Enough to see something that made his chest tighten in a way logic couldn't explain. The doctor spoke carefully. She has a severe cardiac condition. Stress-induced deterioration is possible. Joon-woo didn't respond immediately. He just stared at the paper, then quietly asked, Is she alone? The doctor hesitated. She has a child. That word again. Child. Noah. Something in Joon-woo's expression changed. Not dramatically, but deeply. Like something inside him had just been confirmed without proof. Emma arrived at the hospital in a rush. She didn't even fix her hair. Didn't think about appearances. Didn't think about anything except one thing. Stop this. Before it goes further, she pushed through the hospital doors and froze. Because there he was, Kim Joon-woo, standing in a hallway like he belonged there, waiting. Emma's voice shook instantly. What are you doing here? Joon-woo turned slowly. I needed answers. There are no answers for you here. Yes, he said quietly. There are. Emma stepped forward angrily. You don't get to invade my life like this. I'm not invading, he replied calmly. I'm trying to understand why everything feels like it's pointing back to you. Emma laughed bitterly. That's called coincidence. Joon-woo shook his head. I don't believe that anymore. A pause. Then he said something that stopped her completely. I saw your medical file. Emma went cold. You what? I saw your condition, he said. And I saw your son's name. Silence. Emma's face drained of color. You had no right. I know. Then why? Because I needed to know if what I felt was real. Emma's voice broke. And what do you feel? Joon-woo hesitated. For the first time, he looked uncertain. I feel like I've been missing something my entire life, he said quietly. Emma shook her head. No. But her voice wasn't strong anymore. A door opened behind them. Noah. He had followed. Mommy, he called softly. Emma turned instantly. No, go back. But it was too late. Noah saw Joon-woo again and stopped, just like before. Like something inside him recognized something without explanation. Joon-woo looked at him, and this time he didn't hesitate. He stepped forward slightly. Hi, he said gently. Noah tilted his head. You're the man from before. Yes. Are you my daddy? Emma gasped. No. But Joon-woo didn't look away. He just stared at the boy. And for a long moment, he didn't answer. Because something inside him had finally stopped resisting. The feeling, the pull, the recognition, the impossible sense of connection. And finally, in a quiet voice that carried years of confusion, he said, "I don't know yet." Emma froze. Because that answer wasn't denial, it was possibility. And that was more dangerous than certainty. The hospital hallway felt like it shrank. Emma grabbed Noah instantly. "We're leaving." But Joon-woo spoke again. "Emma." She stopped. He had never used her name like that before. Not like this. Not with weight. Not with emotion. "I'm not your enemy," he said softly. Emma turned slightly, tears in her eyes now. "You are to my peace." That sentence hung between them. Joon-woo didn't respond immediately, because he understood it too well. But he still said one last thing, calm, certain, unshakable. "If that boy is mine, I will not walk away." Emma's breath broke, because deep down, she already knew he wouldn't, and neither would the truth. That night, as Emma held Noah tightly in their small apartment, she realized something terrifying. The past wasn't coming back anymore. It was already here, and it had a name. Kim Joon-woo. If you enjoyed this full story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, because some secrets don't stay buried forever.